Hope you have your guitar out, tuned to standard pitch, and I hope you have a notebook or a binder, or at minimum a piece of paper and something to write on in case you want to take notes. So today's lesson is a second in a series of lessons that are on playing triads or 3-note chords on 4 strings. So there's a couple things we got to sort of get straight here. We are using 4 strings, however we are still playing 3-note chords. So if we have 4 strings and 3 notes, it stands to reason that one of those notes is going to be repeated, and that the additional note will be an octave of other notes that we've been playing in the triad. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at triads that have the E string and the G string in their root notes. So what I want to start out with the triads that have their root notes on the E string. So the first triad I want to look at is E major triad. So let me just review that. Starting with the G string, we're playing the note at the first fret of the G string, and that is the G sharp note, excuse me. And we're playing the B string open, that's the B note, and we're playing the E string open, that's the E note. So that's our 3-string version of this. And what we want to do with these chords is the note that we're going to add on our D string is going to be an octave lower than the root note, which is on the E string. For every note we can play on the E string, and by E string I mean the first string, the high E string as it's sometimes called, we can find a note that's an octave lower on the D string 2 frets higher. So if we have an open E string, we can find the E that's an octave lower on the D string at the 2nd fret, because the 2nd fret is considered to be 2 frets higher than the root note. So we're going to just take this form that we've been playing, and I'm going to reach up with my middle finger and I'm going to play the note at the 2nd fret. We've added a 2nd E note. So if I start on the D string, I have E, G sharp, B, and E. So this is our 4-string E major chord, and it's an open string fingering. And what I want you to notice about this is, like I said, now we have the root note on 2 strings, and we can reference this chord by either one of those root notes. The next chord I want to look at is the F major chord, and this establishes our closed fingering for the major chord form with the root note on the E string. So I need to locate my F note at the 1st fret of the E string, and then I'm going to apply my major chord fingering. And I have our F major chord. So again, all we're going to do here is we're going to add a note on the D string. And the note on the D string is going to be an octave lower than the root. The root note is F. So we're going to find the note F on the D string. We can actually find that note on the D string 2 frets higher than the root note. And now we have our 4-note, the F major chord. And if I just play through each, starting with the D string, play through each string and name the notes, we have F, A, C, and F again. And this establishes a movable chord form. So from here, we have F, and we can just follow the root note. We can either follow it on the E string or on the D string because it's the same. So from there we have G, and then we have A, B major, C major, and so on and so forth. So those are our 2 major chord fingerings. So now let's go to the minor chords. So let's start with our 3-string minor chord fingering for E minor. And for those who don't remember, we're simply going to play the open G string, the open B string, and the open E string. We just need to add the note that's an octave lower than our root note. Our root note is the open E string. So we can find the note that's an octave lower to that at the 2nd fret of the D string. I'm just going to use my middle finger. Okay, so starting with the D string, I have the E note at the 2nd fret, played with my middle finger. And then I have the G, B, and E strings open. This is an open fingering, so this is unique to the E minor chord because we have open strings. So now let's move to the closed fingering. And let's go with the F minor chord. If I go to play my F minor chord, I find my root note at the 1st fret of the E string, and then I just bar across the G, B, and E strings. And now we have our F minor chord. And this establishes our movable 3-string F minor chord. So now what we want to do is we just want to add the note on the D string that's an octave lower than the root note. The root note is on the 1st fret of the E string. So we're going to go and we're going to play the note that's on the 3rd fret of the D string. And I'm going to use my ring finger to reach up. This establishes our 4-note movable minor chord. So that essentially covers all our chord fingerings for the root notes that are on the E string. Now, the good news is the fingerings are identical if the root note is on the D string. Because as we just showed, if I play one of these chords, and I'm just going to play the F major chord, well, I have the root note on the D string, and I also have it on the E string. So it doesn't matter. We can reference the root note to either one of these strings. The chord fingering is identical. Put in your time, put in your work, and I hope to see you at the next lesson. Peace.